be similarly inherent or not inherent. Thus from this place it may be shown that not every thing which is just is good. For if every thing just were eligible and good, every thing which is justly done would be eligible and good. But now to die justly is not eligible. Another place is from relatives. For if some one has acted well or justly, another has suffered well or justly. And if to command is just, it is also just to obey the command. As the publican Diomedon said about the tributes, For, said he to the people, it is not disgraceful in you to sell the tributes, neither is it disgraceful in us to buy them. And if one man deservedly and justly suffers a loss, he who caused him to suffer it acted well and justly. And if he who caused another to suffer a loss acted well and justly, he who sustained the loss sustained it well and justly. In this place, however, it is possible to paralogize. For if a man died justly, he suffered justly, but perhaps not by you. Hence it is necessary to consider separately whether he who suffered deserved to suffer, and whether he who did the thing deserved to do it, and thus to infer what is adapted and appropriate. For sometimes a thing of this kind is dissonant, and nothing impedes, as in the Alcmaeon of Theodectes, Did never any mortal hate thy mother? To which the answer is, Distinctly this must be considered. Alphesiba also inquiring, How therefore have the judges condemned thee? Alcmaeon answered, Of death deserving she was judged, but I, 'twas said, could not have slain my mother. Thus likewise on the trial of Demosthenes, and those who slew Nicanor, because they were judged to have slain him justly, it appeared that he was justly put to death. In like manner, when a certain person was slain at Thebes, it was inquired in the court of justice whether he had been unjustly slain, as if it were not unjust to slay him who deserved to die. Another place is from the more and the less, such as if even the gods do not know all things, much less do men. For the meaning of this is, if the more is not inherent in that in which it ought to be more inherent, it is evident that neither will it be inherent in that in which the less is inherent. But this place, that he will strike his neighbour who strikes his father, depends on this, that if the less is inherent, the more also will be inherent. And this place is useful for both purposes, viz. Whether it be requisite to show that a thing is inherent, or is not. Farther still, if a thing is inherent, neither more nor less. Whence it is said in a certain tragedy, Is thy father to be pitied, because he has lost a son? And is not Aeneas to be equally commiserated, who has lost his son Meleager, one of the most illustrious of the Greeks? And that if Theseus did not act unjustly in ravaging Helen, neither did Paris. And if the Tyndarida, i.e. Castor and Pollux, did not act unjustly in ravishing the daughters of Leucippus, neither did Paris. Likewise, if Hector did not act unjustly in slaying Patroclus, neither did Paris in slaying Achilles. And if other artists are not vile men, neither are philosophers. And if generals are not vile, because they are frequently conquered, neither are sophists. And that if a private person ought to be careful of your renown, you also ought to be careful of the renown of the Greeks. Another place consists in the consideration of time, as is exemplified in what Iphicrates says in his oration against Harmodius. For said he, If before I had done the thing, I had demanded a statue in case I did it, you would have granted it to me. And will you not grant it, now I have done the thing? You would not, therefore, when expecting a benefit, promise a reward, and refuse it, when you have received the benefit. And again, for the purpose of persuading that the Thebans ought to permit Philip to pass through their land into Attica, it may be said, That if he had made this request before he sent you assistance against the Phocenses, you would have permitted it. It is absurd, therefore, that because he then neglected to ask permission, and trusted you would grant it, that you should now deny it to him." Another place is taken from things said and reported on the speaker. And this mode is eminently useful, and was employed in the tragedy of Teucrus by Iphicrates against Aristophon, when he inquired of him whether he would have betrayed the ships for money. And when Aristophon denied that he would, Iphicrates afterwards said, "You therefore, being Aristophon, would not have betrayed them, and should I, being Iphicrates, have betrayed them?" It is necessary, however, that he who is opposed should appear to have acted more unjustly than the opponent. For if not, it would seem to be ridiculous, if any one had said this against Aristides accusing who was in every respect worthy of belief, and which ought to have been said against an accuser, who did not deserve to be credited. For in short, the plaintiff ought to be considered as better than the defendant. He therefore who opposes another should always reprobate this. And universally, that which is said is absurd, when any one who reproves others in things which he himself does, or would have done if he could, or who persuades others to do those things which he himself does not do, nor would have done. Another place is derived from definition, such for instance as, "That which is demoniacal is nothing else than either God, or the work of God. But whoever thinks that it is the work of God, must necessarily think that there are gods." And as Iphicrates said against a certain person named Harmodius, "He who is the best of men is most generous or noble. For there was nothing generous in Harmodius and Aristogiton till they had accomplished some generous undertaking." He added that he was more allied to, i.e. he more resembled the ancient Harmodius. "For my works," said he, "are more allied to the works of Harmodius and Aristogiton than thine." And as in the oration concerning Paris, "All men will confess that those who are intemperate are not satisfied with the enjoyment of one body." Hence Socrates said that he would not go to Archelaus, king of Macedonia, "For it is disgraceful," said he, "for him who has received a benefit, not to be able to recompense him from whom he received it, just as it is disgraceful in him who has been used ill, not to return the ill treatment." For all these, defining and assuming what a thing is, syllogize about the things which are the subjects of their speech. Another place is derived from multiplicity of diction, as in the Topics, an argument is derived from that which has a rectitude of subsistence, being multifariously predicated. Another place is derived from division, as if all men act unjustly for the sake of three things. For they act unjustly either for the sake of this, viz. Utility, or for the sake of this, viz. Pleasure, or for the sake of this, viz. Because they are enraged. But for the sake of two of these they could not do the injury, and the opponents themselves confess they did not do it for the sake of the third. Another place is from induction, as from the oration inscribed Peparthia, in which it is said, "That women every where determine truly about the birth of children." For this is evident from what happened at Athens, since when Mantius the rhetorician was dubious about his son, his doubts were dissolved by the mother of the child. This likewise happened at Thebes. For when Ismenes and Stilbo contended which of them was the father of Thessalicus, Dodonus demonstrated that he was the son of Ismenes, and on this account Thessalicus was considered as the offspring of Ismenes. And again, from the law of Theodectes, if no one would commit his horses to the care of those who do not pay a proper attention to the horses of others, nor his ship.